I have a question that came in over Twitter, which I really liked.
Save this for the audience.
So there are so many marketing opportunities and a finite budget, even though we've all budgeted 1.3 and some of us got approved 1.5, negotiating now that we've learned all that stuff. But the question is, how do I decide what should I invest in 2019? You alluded to the answer in some of your presentations, but I'd like to see how the tachlis of your decisions, like how would you decide that? And that's a question from someone here.
So, hear me? Hi, I'm Aviv Cohen. I head marketing for Cysys. We're a cyber startup that does automated penetration testing software. Thank you again for inviting me in for a host. I think that, again, answering it in a punchy way, I would invest in something to begin with, I can prove the ROI on and become the hero that Jonathan talked about to begin with. So if I know that I can go to an event and at least I come back with a few good leads, it's proven, I would start with these cornerstone activities and then put the rest of the PR, AR, and things that are maybe fun to do, but less, they just happen and then they go away after a day, second.
I think that I basically answered that in my presentation, but we'll give you a practical or real-life example. We just had a meeting with my CEO a few weeks ago. We talked about 2019. He told me, Jonathan, I want that everyone will know us in this industry. That's what he told me. I want a big billboard in the New York airport, and I want everyone should. Okay, understand what he means, right? Now I need to translate that into a marketing plan. So we shift our focus and we're shifting our budget now to a more awareness activities, right? So it always starts with that kind of what is the vision, what the CEO wants, what he believes should be, and how you as a marketing, you help him achieve that, right? It always starts as the business strategy, what I said, what the CEO wants, and then how you translate that to a marketing plan. While in 2018, bring me pipeline. I need a pipeline. We need to get the first 50 customers. Let's help sales get the first 50 customers. That translates into let's do more roundtables, partner-led events, etc. So usually it starts with that kind of discussion, right? But again, for me, what in the 6 months from now, I can stand in front of my management, my board, and say, we did that, we moved the needle, we made an impact on the company. Will help the company become more successful.
As I mentioned, we look at how the company made money, what worked for marketing. That's always one part. But because we're talking mostly about startups here, I feel it's very important to have a 60-40, 70-30 ratio between the bankers and the experiments, because if you just expand mildly on things that work and they worked but fine and were easy to measure, so you went directly there, you will lose all the, I hate this word, but growth hacks that might actually allow you to achieve the hockey stick. So you should be very careful at not including some budget for experimenting. It's also going to give you some energy that you are allowed to fail. Because if you only budget for things that work, now you can only fail. But if you budgeted for, again, 30-40% of your budget for experiments, you're giving yourself options to crack the code.
One more comment again. I would represent the younger startups in the group. If you don't have your infrastructure, brand, image, messaging, website, HubSpot prepared, that would even come before what I said of bringing leads first. Sometimes another tip is sometimes I do nod. Yes, the CEO wants to be known all over the world, and we just came out to market. But eventually I know that when he sees that the leads attribution, they came from the website, request a demo push button, he would be thankful and I will get next year's budget. So all I added is don't forget the basics. I see people that are messaging wrong or kind of skip that, doing a lot, but they're not hitting the market need, pain point, etc. So that's also something needs to be in the fundamentals.
Okay. So summing it up, make sure you have the fundamentals. Do growth hacking. I like that word. Sorry, we don't have to agree. Which means make sure you have enough money to experiment, because that's where the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, and then align what you're doing with what the business plan is. I'd like to say what the CEO says, but he sometimes has some crazy visions. Do you have another question? Yep. I want to give. Just ask. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, in terms of the inbound marketing, there's a lot of new platforms every day, like there's LinkedIn, Facebook, and Facebook needs to change. How do you accommodate with the new dynamic and the new world in order to create more engagement for your leads?
So, so if I understood your question, for inbound marketing. Just interesting, I have to say this. I just had an email conversation with Brian Halligan over the last few days. You were involved with this, Aviv. And he asked me a little while ago, has inbound lost its mojo? And I actually, when I asked me that 6 months ago, I actually said yes, but then I keep hearing people using it, so obviously it hasn't. So sorry, went off subject. There's so many tactics and so many platforms for inbound marketing, and you mentioned social media platforms, but there's a lot of other types of platforms. There's technologies, and is your question, how do you keep up and decide which ones to invest in?
Yeah, the goal is eventually to receive more qualified leads, right? Okay. So which platform can bring me that?
I don't think there's going to be nobody's going to give you an exact answer if I'm going to guess.
If I have to focus.
I think they're going to give you maybe a methodology to think about it.
What's your business, by the way? A company and line of business or product?
Just interested in I'm in the market industry, but consumer goods for now, but I'm transitioning.
I think that for my advice will be understand what are the platforms that people look to learn and what are the platforms they look for purchase. And then you need to decide where you want to be. Reddit, for example, is a platform to learn, right? To share information between peers. IT Central, for example, that's a platform to purchase. So you need to understand where your customers are and what they're doing in those channels. But I think the question is actually more fundamental. MarTech, marketing, technology, etc. It's becoming a mess, right? But the fundamental of marketing has not changed. Who your customer? What are their pain points? Where is he looking for information? And what is the best way to engage with him? And in what kind of messaging? Once you understand that, you will understand where you need to meet those customers. We understood very quickly that we need to get roundtables, because this is where people actually come to purchase. They will make the time to meet you around a table, not just because they want to learn. They will come to your website if they want to learn, because they want to understand if you're going to be any good for them. So once you understand your customers and you really understand who he is, where he's looking for information and what kind of information, then what platform channel you need to engage will be much more trivial for you. That's my advice. Start with the fundamental and not necessarily go to all those shiny new platforms that everybody now is using because it's a trend. Fundamental of marketing has not changed in the last 50 years, in my opinion.
I'm going to just cut off so that we have time to get to more questions. So what we'll do is change the format, experiment. We're going to take a question. One of you, we'll go through and each one of you will answer it so that we get to more questions. There was a question from upstairs. Do you know?
Yeah, I can take that. Actually, I'll link the two together.
They asked, what about how do you do failure analysis?
Okay, for someone who fails quickly and often, it's part of my philosophy. To your point, I just try a channel. I'm giving it a quarter or 2 months and $10,000, and I'm going for something, and then I compare it to a benchmark, and then I fail, and I move on. And the thing is, up front to say I'm doing an experiment, and then the experiment succeeded by failing, I'm moving on. It's not me. I framed it as an experiment, and then we have the KPIs. We agreed. I presented upfront, not like excuses retroactive. If it succeeds, of course, it's me, and it's all about, right?
So basically,
I'll add a small thing to it because I think it's a good question. So we do a lot of no blame post-mortem, we call it. We actually took it from the dev world. Whenever something doesn't work, we use a platform. We call it the pyramid of fuck-ups. If something didn't work out, it didn't work out because of one or more than the 3 levels in the pyramid didn't work. The why we did that, the what we did, and how we did that. So if you fail, you either fail because of the general direction that made you even pick this tactics or strategy. The what is actually picking a strategy that would not work however you execute it. Or you fucked up by executing it wrong. And once you break it down into these 3 levels, you start looking at where exactly you might have gone wrong. And if you see it's just an execution issue, you go back at it. You don't want to discard the whole strategy just because of poor execution. So I think it's really important to understand first where was the failure on which level.
okay, so the basis of that is making sure when you set up an experiment, you define it clearly what is success and what is failure. I'm sure as marketers, you've heard a million times, yeah, social media just doesn't work. And why? Because they ran a couple posts on LinkedIn or Facebook or I don't know, Instagram to sell cybersecurity or so whatever they did. It just social media doesn't work. It has to be a lot more. I see a lot of you smiling because I know these are stories I've heard over and over again. Next question, back in the left.
Jonathan mentioned that in Amdocs it was like 0% lead generation activities, while in the cyber startup it got a target of bringing 50 opportunities. We are now at the end of 2018. Can you share, and I'm glad to hear also from the other companies, what is the actual contribution of these activities to the overall company pipeline and even sales?
It really depends which region. In APAC, marketing contribution was to the pipeline, not the actual. I'm talking about the pipeline was more than 50%. In North America, it was less. And as we said, we fail and we learn, and now we are changing our tactics. So I can say that anywhere between 30 to 50% contribution, again, depends on the life cycle of the company. That is a good number to look at, I would assume, especially when you only start, right? When people don't know you, right? So most of the deals are coming from personal relationship of the salespeople, who they know, etc. And once you get to be known more, you can get more leads and opportunities for marketing. So I would say for us, between 30 to 50% was a good number to show.
Yeah, I'd agree 30%. And again, because it's early days, it's going to grow because the friends and family connections are not there. People come through the web. I consider the small events like Jonathan, I'm a supporter, which is like a brute force. You pay a lot, but you gain a lot. And again, if we were on Israeli Export Institute roadshow in the East Coast and we got a couple of deals, let's say $400,000 out of that, the event cost us $1,000 plus airfare and a hotel. The ROI is magnificent. It came from that. It's marketing. It's all good. You get some credit line to continue to work, and that's the deal. How do you get the means, the budget to continue to experiment and to find those formats that bring the better leads?
I heard someone saying that ROI, six-time ROI is a good KPI. I'm not sure about it, but that's a number that I heard from other colleagues, that they will always go with at least 6 times the investment in order to justify the investment. Okay. So maybe you can take it as a number.
You want to ask the question again? Yeah.
You spoke about round table, and it's very hard to penetrate this market. Can you speak more about the round tables? Are they part of a trade show or something that you organize as a road show? Can you emphasize it?
So the roundtable, as you mentioned, is that's not something that you can do when you're only starting, either by a third party For example, Evanta, which is a company of Gartner that arranged that. You pay a lot of money, but they give you 10 relevant buyer persona where you are the only sponsor. It's not part of a trade show, or with partners, a reseller or distributors. If you work in channels that already have customers and their customer trust them, and they will tell them, okay, come, guys, there is a crazy startup here from Israel. Come for 2 hours, have free drinks and food, and hear what they have to say. This is what worked for us in APAC and also in North America right now. So either third party that you pay a lot of money, but you need to find the right ones and the good ones because a lot of it is just junk, or partners. By the way, another format that we are looking at is events where they guarantee number of meetings in advance, and they do matching. So you pay a lot of money, but you get 10 meetings with relevant people that expressed specific interest in your product. Okay, trade show doesn't work for us, not in cyber. It's if you go to RSA, it's like a circus. You get lost in the crowd. So we're looking for other options. These are the 3 that we are now looking at.
Gal?
Do you somehow differ the budget between customer marketing? Do you somehow differ the budget between customer marketing, meaning customer base, versus lead generation? Do you even consider such a budget item?
What you might call, if I'm getting to what you're really referring to, that sounds like a customer success type of operation. What happens after you acquire the customer? I care less about what happens with the customer after it's got acquired because I have my own headaches. But I can tell you that a methodology of creating content these days is in collaboration with our customer success. We might say, okay, we need to shine a light on a particular subject, build the big, long white paper around it that then customer success would take and use with their own clients. Then I'll have a product marketing manager looking at that and dumbing it down to something that's lead gen appropriate, and that's how we avoid kind of duplicacy and creating content. So we start with the full flow, and then we kind of create derivatives of it to whatever product marketing initiatives that we need.
One thing that you may consider is pipeline acceleration activities. So towards the end of the year, we want to accelerate the existing opportunities we already have in the pipeline in order to get them closed as fast as we can before the end of the year. So we may arrange events with already opportunities that we have, local or regional events, where we will try to accelerate the closing of the deals, right? So we can tell them like 30% off, or something like that, use some very tactical approaches, but that you may want to consider as a marketing to lead, right? So let's accelerate the opportunities we already have in order to be, and not just generate new ones. Because the new ones will get into 2019 and not will be closed in 2018. And so that's something that you may consider.
Hi, I'm Sean from Penguin, and I'm responsible for strategy. One of the challenges that I come across very, very often with clients that approach us is that they tell us that they come already with some history, right? They tried stuff. And they tell us, okay, we've tried lead gen, here's some assets we used. People converted, they downloaded something. Here, we got this bunch of leads. Now, we called them up and none of them closed, or like a fraction of a percent closed. So this is a failed tactic, X. And then when we break it down with them, it's very often the case that it's just, the journey is long because we're in B2B tech, and the buying journey, and people who are interested in some educational item are not necessarily now wanting a demo, right? So a very typical situation is where the clients are generating leads, some kind of contact, and they're relevant people from relevant companies, but they're not yet at the stage of wanting a demo or the product. Now they have to decide, and here's the question in terms of budgeting. How much what are your considerations? How much to invest in nurturing people who are not at the stage of ready to buy, but they're likely to become one anytime between now and 2 years from now, right? And that's a big part of nurturing and generating content, and requires a lot of activity and budget. How do you decide how much to budget that?
So I want to first of all take the pyramid. Okay, I'm stealing that already, and just say, first of all, when you do the content, if you want to go for the buyers, then you need the buyer guide type of things, like 5 things to see. So if people click the how to buy something, they're probably into buying it. If you're talking about how to do things, or 5 things to know, or the quick guide or dummy for dummies kind of guides, then you're going to probably. So I think the content needs to be to that point. And in my view, it would be that the focus would be on the acquisition and the conversion of the new guys, and the assets that you create for nurturing are basically recycling things. I think you alluded to that as well. You recycle, but I wouldn't, for me to hope that someone that downloaded something and then I have the second download created just for him and budgeted just for that purpose, I think that category is a side, a byproduct of actually creating those valuable assets. Let's say doing a survey, wrapping it in a research, and putting it out there for people to actually, new people to download and convert. That's my take.
Saying that lead gen doesn't work, it's a big statement. And I had these discussions and arguments with my salespeople and my CEO all the time. What doesn't work? The leads that you're bringing are not relevant enough. So you need to change either the qualification criteria or to change the platforms and channels that you work with. Or the conversion doesn't work. And then you have a problem with the SDR, and you have maybe problem with the scripts, and you have problem with the playbook. And we actually found that we had problem with both. So we had to change our strategy and tactics when it came to which channels we work with, and we stopped work with third-party syndication because we felt the lead that we're getting are not relevant enough. And second, we wrote that. Then I did that. She wrote a playbook for the SDR, and what script he need to use and what kind of content he in order to improve the conversion rate. So saying lead gen it doesn't work. People like to say that, especially salespeople, but you need to actually understand what is the root cause here. I think nurture is a must. You need to maintain it. How much to invest? I don't know. I don't have a golden answer here, but for sure you need to maintain a very efficient nurture program, I would say, because people came to your website, download content. That's amazing, right? Think about it, especially if you're early stage company. You have to maintain that engagement with them. You have to send them emails from time to time. You have to provide them more content because in some point of time they may change their opinion, right?
Or their job.
Or the job, exactly. We have an ongoing discussion where to recycle or where to cancel or whatever it's called in to delete. We always say don't calcine, recycle it, keep it in the database, right? Because in some point either we'll change his job or change his mindset, and you need to maintain that. How much to invest? How much content? I don't know how. I don't know what the golden answer is, but I'm sure that you need to maintain it in some level.
I think it depends on the stage that you're at. When you're very early stage, you're going to invest most of your budget to bring in the new leads. But in a situation where you've started building that out, I think it comes. I'm telling you what I speak for myself because I also have even though I work for a marketing agency or I run a marketing agency, I have the marketing agency doing. I have they use Penguin as a customer to experiment, and the way I see it is that I ask for us to invest almost as much in ongoing nurturing as in bringing in new ones, and it's proven the ROI is there. The people switch jobs, people have come to a meetup or they've downloaded something, and then 2 years later I get an email, and it's literally happens over and over again, and it builds on itself. So my take on it is. And I give the same advice when we talk to early stage. You got to get them in. But once they're in, you have the right person in there. You invest a lot to keep them on because we all are quick to unsubscribe. We're quick to because we get so many emails, and if we don't engage properly, your database is going to be big, but they're all going to be unsubscribes. I think we have time for one more question.
No one's waiting here quite patiently, so can I get your microphone?
Go ahead.
I see. I want to make sure you got enough to do
Yeah, I
that.
was kind of behind my podium. Hi. So a lot of what you talked about with the examples of budgets looked like quite nice budgets compared to what I currently have, which is almost non-existent. Any tips for how to focus your priorities really pretty much with a one-person marketing team and almost no budget? Any tips for that?
So yeah, sure. You take Penguin and they resolve your issue.
They work for free.
Yeah, they work for a smile. But I think I represent the low budget. It's going to double next year. That's the good news. But this year it was modest. Inbound and content marketing has the best. So, like, if again, just tell me what your company does, just so for the.
Yeah, we're a search enhancement solution for e-commerce.
Okay, so it starts with a product. In my view, the first dollar goes to a product package, like a good video. I don't know how much it costs, but I would put, if I had one, I would put all of it there. So I have like a product marketing, something I can move, send in social, and the rest of it would be my own content writing and social work, which is your time. But I just want to warn that just without that, shiny object, something that you can show a nice infographic. It's not a lot of them, but something to build around marketing, for example. That type.
One main asset that can be.
You need to have something of an asset, and the rest is content, words, and good social work.
How much time do you exist?
The company, about 4 years.
Oh,
but
4 years
this is
already?
The first year of actual commercializing it.
And I really want to, what Aviv said, the infrastructure is really important, but not the HubSpot. Are you sure that your messaging is clear and it's sharp, and when people come to your website, they really understand what you do and how it's different than your competitors? That's the most important thing, because you already exist 4 years, but for early startup, you don't get opportunities for marketing. Marketing doesn't bring opportunities when you need 1, 2, 3, 5 customers. It doesn't come from marketing. Who the hell are you? It comes from personal relationship of the CEO, the founder, the sales, right? They bring the first opportunities. It's a beta customer. It's a design customer. I don't know a design partner. I don't know how you want to call it, right? Marketing focus in that stage on getting the most clear and sharp messaging of the company. What is our value proposition? What is our mission? Why are we going to change the world, right? That takes time. I came to a company and a year ago, it was already exist 3 years. We changed our messaging. We changed our focus. And we still do that. And until you have that clear, people will come to your website, they won't understand what you are doing, they don't understand why you're different, and will get lost, right? You have only one opportunity to do first impression, right? How they say it. So focus on that. Make sure that you focus your time, energy, money to get that sorted out. Then everything else, which is more tactics, I would say, will get along.
So early stage, I think Upwork and Fiverr are your best friends. Outsource every little thing that from a ROI analysis is worth just outsourcing. You'll have to spend a bit more time to define the project really well and manage the outsourced work, but it's going to be worth it in the end. If you have one person and zero media budget, what I would do is do an extensive keyword research, divide the keywords to first tier and second tier. Take that first tier of keywords, usually that's between 20 and 50 keywords, throw it back into Google, because no search in Google lives in a vacuum. Throw those 20 to 50 keywords first tier that you want to that are actively describing the product, the pain, the target audience, whatever. Throw it into Google, go page by page up until the 10th page of Google, and now you have about a few hundred domains, URLs. That's your world. Okay, that's your world, because that's where your target audience listens, reads, connects, engages. That's their competitors, everything around it. That's your world. It's just a few hundred URLs. And then you go one by one. That's only your time that you need for that. And you look at the website, you understand what the sentiment and the context is there, and you engage with the target audience there. and deliver the shiny piece of content. That's how I would spend my time first year.